My name is Dan Epps, born and raised in Branson, Missouri. Got a little story to tell that brings a lot of hope and a lot of positive to this old man. I've got a son. His name's Joshua. He's 39 years old, and he's my son, but I'm married, so he's a stepson to my current wife. Josh was raised in a challenging family. His mother was a complete alcoholic. Josh didn't get the right care and upbringing that I thought he should have. Went to high school, finished high school, did his thing in school, was a good student. He was involved with a tragic time in our lives when his stepmother passed away. And Josh lost his faith in God and direction with God and with Jesus Christ. He had been baptized with our whole family, so I knew he was protected, but I just knew that sometimes your mind gets stronger than your will. And Josh didn't have the willpower to focus on God or to focus on Jesus Christ or to even believe in him anymore. And after my deceased wife, when she passed, he kind of tumbled down a rabbit hole, more or less, and got into the drinking, drugs, just being wild as a young man could be. And a lot of people, I guess I shouldn't say a lot, but some people that do that over a period of time come out of that and change their lives and refocus their direction. And Josh didn't do that. He stole things. He got into a gang around here, which is hard to believe in Branson, Missouri there's a gang, but it was. And they were notorious for drug-related crimes and just stealing stuff and selling it. And over a period of time, Josh was arrested multiple times, but the last time he was sent to prison. And prison's a big word when you come up in this little part of the country down here, because we've got a county jail and a city jail, but when you go to prison, it's a whole different ballgame. And Josh and I had some real challenges before he went, because I was one of the persons that he stole from. And he took things from me that are irreplaceable. And that built a wall between us that was a mile thick and sky high. And for 4 years, I didn't even mention his name. I didn't want anything to do with him. I didn't talk to him. I didn't talk to his friends that talked to him. I was done with him. I got to the point of saying I'm vested myself for my son, and I'm not going to be involved in anything he has going on. And time went on, and like I said, 4 years, and I had an issue with another son that got put into a rehabilitation system, which is associated with the prison system in the state of Missouri. And that was Dustin. So Dustin and I had a lot better relationship than I did with Josh. But I knew Josh was in prison, but I didn't know where. And Dustin went up there for his treatment. And while he was there, I was scanning the inmate profile. And here it came across the picture of my son Josh. I hadn't seen him in 4 years, and the first time I saw him was his picture in the prison profile. It literally ripped my heart out. Had I been a bad dad? Yeah. Because I wasn't a forgiving dad. I was carrying a grudge until I saw his picture. And then I made my mind up that I was going to heal those wounds, whatever it took. And my current wife was really very not on the same team with me on this one, because he had done some very serious damage to a lot of people. But I made my mind up, and what I did was I sent him a letter. And at the first communication that I had done with him, like I said, in 4 years, I keep praying and thinking and hoping and wishing and hoping that things can change in these young people's lives. And if you're a parent like I am, and you abandon your children, it's the worst thing you can do, because then they don't have any reason to change unless you got somebody to help them. So I sent my son a letter, and all my family and the friends and the people that we associated with were all down on him because of what he had done. Then they got down on me because I sent my son a letter. And it's kind of like a friend of mine said one time, until you walk a mile in this man's shoes, don't criticize him. Leave him alone. He knows what he's doing. I wasn't sure if he knew what I was doing or not, but I sent him a letter. And I broke that ice that had been a 4-year iceberg around both of us. And he sent me back a letter, and on the front page, all there was 2 words. It said, "Oh, wow." And then the second page was, "I never thought I'd ever hear from you again." Well, I'm his dad. His mother definitely has thrown in the towel on him. She hasn't spoke to him for 6 or 7 or 8 years. But I was determined, after I got his letter, to break that ice again. And in his letter, he said, "Dad, I'll be praying for you." And for those words to even be put on a piece of paper with Josh was outstanding, because something had triggered in him at 39 years old that where he's at's not where he wants to be. And how he's going to change is going to have to come back to the Lord. He's going to have to get on his knees, and he's going to have to ask for forgiveness and guidance and hope that there is a way that the Lord will forgive him and he can move forward. And I got to help him do that. He's, every letter I got from that time on, he was praying for me, and my stepwife, or my wife, his stepmom, still had that shield up. She wasn't going to let him in. And her mom is suffering with Alzheimer's, and so is my dad. So we've had some medical issues, and Josh sent her a letter personally. Said, "I'm praying for your mom." That's all it took. It's all it took for Marcia to realize too that if we don't step up and help these young people right now and give them some kind of direction to find some hope, they're just going to tumble down that rabbit hole until they die. You know, and I have been able to, in this past year, I went in November of last year, 2014, and I picked Josh up from, actually, I went to prison to see him, and I battled the prison board to let me come and see my son. And I finally got approval. I went up there to see him. He didn't know I was coming. I didn't tell him. I just wanted to see his reaction. And I'm sitting in a commissary at a table, and he thought he was in some kind of trouble because they called his name and nobody had been to see him. He had not received a letter from our family or his aunts, uncles, or nobody in 4 years. He had not heard any word from any of us down here. And I was sitting there, and he walked by me. I said, he had his head shaved, and you know, he did bad hairline anyway, so he could have shaved his head off. And he's about 6'1", probably 200 pounds, 225 pounds. Nice sized boy. And I said, "Hey." And he looked at me, and he just almost fell over. I mean, it was a grand reunion. That was the first time I had touched him in almost 5 years. that I had embraced him and got to hug him. And I think right there is when you take that time and you put your heart out, it'll come back to you. And that's what happened. We started a relationship there, a father and son relationship. So every Wednesday, I write a letter to Josh, regardless. How busy I was, it didn't matter. We would write letters to Josh and anybody else that was in the prison system on a Wednesday night. That was our thing to do. We'd get a letter back, and it always said, "I'll be praying for you." And in November, I went and picked him up. I got him set up to where he could go into a Christian environment when he got out of prison and put on parole. And he only had 1 year of parole to go. And I got him into a Christian environment. They loved him. They loved Josh. The atheistic type of attitude was gone. His trust in God had been reestablished. His caring for Jesus Christ was in a positive and not a negative. It was the best opportunity to see this boy at 39 years old come out of a incredibly difficult situation and come back up with his shield held high and not on it. And when I asked my wife, can he come and stay with us? You'd thought that she would have boxed my jaws for even wanting a guy back in our house that had stole all our stuff and other people's stuff and had been through the drug world, been through all this, and you want him to come and stay at our house. But her answer was, yeah. There's no other way that we can make this work unless we can make our own path with the way that we have to have things go. So we did. We invited Josh to our house. I invited my family out. His brothers, his sisters, his uncles, his aunts, and we had a homecoming. There's a place in the Bible that talks about that. And we felt like that because of that, Josh has hope. He is doing well. He has a job in Springfield. He has a future that he's looking at right now in a VOTEC type of school. But the key that I think that busted the ice on all of it was sending a letter. And if there's people in your family or relatives or friends or whoever, if there's a way to communicate and you push that communication and you pray about it and you trust in it and you hope that there's hope there, it'll happen. And I mean, I had my mind made up that I was done with my son. And that's silly, because he's my son. And, you know, material things are material things. But you can't let material things stand in the way of your relationship with your family. You can buy a car, you can buy a gun, you can buy a house, you know, and they can all go away. But your family's your family. As I say, you can choose your friends, but you can't choose your family. Well, when you have a son that was as rebellious as Josh and as hardcore as he was against the Lord, then it's easy to say, I'm done with him and I don't want anything else to do with him, and for 4 years that's exactly what I did. I didn't put him in my mind. You know, I didn't care. And God works in some mysterious ways, and all it took was to see that picture. And the first picture I'd seen of him in 4 years is on the profile of a prison picture. Can change your direction in your mind and in your life. And there is hope. Josh has proved to me that because he was so hard on not wanting to be a Christian, and now it's totally reversed. And there's no way that anyone can convince me that God's not intervening in this, because God himself has given Josh hope that gave me hope to reconnect to him with that hope and that desire. And to watch my son blossom now has been way more exciting for me than seeing his picture on a prison wall. So there is hope, America. Just you've got to trust in God and trust in your heart.
You may be able to identify with this story that Danny has shared about his son in prison. Not from a standpoint of your son or daughter in prison, but just family problems. There are so many families that are having difficulties in their family relationships. Well, I want to assure you, you are not alone in that journey if that's where you happen to be today. And just like with Danny, you can find help and you can find hope through God's Word and through Jesus Christ. If we can help you here at Here's Hope America, contact us to give you help and a sense of direction through God's Word and finding hope through Jesus Christ.